Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world watching the show. Tottenham on Tour are back after a little hiatus and a needed one. And this show will not be about Tottenham Hotspur. It will be about the title that you see below. People will know from my time with Brian Ireland on Tottenham Away and then Tottenham on Tour. Mental health and addiction is something that this channel takes very, very seriously. We've done many a special on it. We've done charity streams where it went to the people we said it was going to. And it's something that I take very seriously and I am always very, very open with. And there's been a few things that have been happening recently that are very well spoken about. And now it's time to speak about mental health. And I've never shied away from it. So there's stuff I'm going to speak about. And I'm obviously joined by four of my very, very closest brothers. I won't say friends. I won't say because these are brothers. And with these three around me, I'm still here with stuff I've had to go through recently. So I wouldn't want anyone else on this show other than these three. So we'll go around the table very quickly, and we'll obviously start with my fellow Tottenham Torian. Is that a word? But we're going to use it. A fellow Tottenham Torian. Let's go over to our official adjudicator, Rez. Is it a word?
The way you're using it, no. But there is a word, Taurian, which is Taurean, which refers to those who are the best people born in May who are Tauruses.
June. Right. That's another subject. But Mr. Kauffman, how are you, sir?
I believe it's also Tottenham Ontarian. That's what I said to you, Brian.
Tottenham Ontarian,
which is definitely a word, but doing okay. Doing some new things. We've got some new ideas, which Rez is probably going to enjoy this week. We've got a new drink, so it's always
nice.
fun.
All good. Kuva and 99, my brother. Haven't been on stream with you for a little while. How are you, sir?
Considering the heat and seriousness of the conversation today, doing well.
Good. And last and by no means least, my lawyer, my thesaurus, Rez, how are you, brother?
Not so bad, Brian. Thank you.
Good. So, right, let's get into this. This is going to be a pretty open discussion. I will speak like I've always spoken about certain issues that have affected myself as I kind of champion this mental health thing with Ireland when we do it on this channel. Now, I'm going to talk about something straight away, which a lot of people have asked me, and why am I here for so long? Where can I start? This is a very emotional matter. Before anyone thinks me and my wife are totally and utterly fine. We're wonderful. We're brilliant. My wife has just had to have surgery, something that she's needed for a while. Thankfully, she's doing well, which has been an added pressure on me whilst I've been here the last few weeks. She only had the operation last week, I believe. So, yeah, why am I back in the UK? So, again, it's my mental health. There were certain things occurring. I'm not going to go into the details. Thankfully, the three people I'm with are my very, very closest people on the planet, know everything. And it's because of those people, and three of them are on this panel with me, is that I'm actually able to be here in England and doing this show rather than I could have been in a lot of trouble with the way things were going. Things were happening that were outside my control. Around the neighbourhood I live in, and around a couple of people specifically. Again, I'm not going into the ins and outs, but it was severely impacting my mental health to the point where I think I spoke to Rez at least 3 times a day, Ben at least 1 time a day, and the same with Kuva. I was going out of control. Bobby Kay, I've got to say as well, the great Bobby Kay, who is one of the nicest guys you can meet. I stayed with him for a few days because I had to get out. People will know when I've spoken, I have a very troubled past, battling mental health, battling addiction, battling a vile temper and anger management, where I have done things in my past that I'm very, very horrified by and ashamed by. And the reason I'm here was to get away from that before something did escalate, and to earn English money, send it back to Ilana. So Ilana and I, when I go back, can have the life we wanted to and the life we needed. My mental health since November, or no, it's probably Rez. When were you due to come? September,
November.
wasn't it?
September.
September, you were due to come. That was when this thing started escalating, and it got to October, mid-October, where the only option for me to get out of the situation and deal with what I had to deal with was to be back here surrounded by my family. And I say that as in my family, as in my parents, my sister, my brother-in-law, my 5 nieces and nephews who I think the world of, and of course my dearest friends, and obviously the Tottenham community. And thanks to them, I am where I am. I'm doing better. But I think Rez, you'd know just how bad it was for me at one point, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we did. We were worried about you.
That's the thing. That there was huge. Yeah, there was huge concern. I was falling off a cliff. And I'll be open and honest, like I always am when I'm talking about this. I would have either ended up back in a mental health unit or in a Canadian prison, where, funnily enough, they wouldn't allow me to stream every week with Ben and with Rez and with Kuva, and Tottenham on tour will be down one person. So yeah, just. So that's where people have also got to know that during that time my wife got rushed in. They thought she had a heart attack. Thankfully it wasn't. It ended up being a gallbladder and other things that she needed surgery on. There are a lot of things that have been going on, and it's not just me. I mean, everyone on this panel have had to go through things recently, and thankfully what will be highlighted through this is the last subject we're going to talk about is someone that tried to decimate this community and destroy it. But thankfully, people are on this stream with me, people that will be watching this in the chat, people on Twitter, the decent people, will know that this community is very, very solid. And there are a lot of good people in here that will do everything that they can to support everything. I don't know if any of you guys want to add anything to this before we go on to the next subject. It doesn't need to be about me, it can be about anything. If you don't, we'll move on. But if anyone wants to have a chat, now is your opportunity.
No, I think you've covered it fairly succinctly there, Brian. There's not much else to add to your own narrative, really. You know, this is your story, so there's not much more we can add. All we can say is our perspective on it from the outside. And it is one in which there has been concern for your well-being, and an element of sort of feeling a little bit helpless as well, as in not really being able to do very much. So that's it from sort of my perspective.
Yeah, I think I reiterate what Rez says. There's a feeling of helplessness sometimes. When I could see you going through it, Brian, all I can say is, are you okay, brother? Just little messages, because I know you get swamped with them. So I try not to message you too much, because it gets to the point of nagging. But there's nothing you can do sometimes. So you just have to be there when somebody's got the time or they're ready to talk about it. And it's difficult. It's difficult for everybody involved. That's the thing with mental health. It's not just the individual. It's everybody that knows them. They're also having to go through an experience that is not very pleasant to see. And unless you're a professional, lots of people don't really know how to react. It's been a taboo subject for so long. I think that's why we all agree we want to do these kind of streams, because I think for me, ever since the really tragic death of Gary Speed, it's really brought it home. Ties in with the sports side of things, the football side of things, and men's mental health. It really hit home, that one. It was the kind of big profile thing that was sadly needed to stir a few people out of the slumber and realize we can talk about this sort of stuff, and we should.
Yep. I mean, I'm just going to mention Kuva as well. With you and me, this cuts a little bit deeper. I'm not going to go into names or anything, but a couple of years ago, there was a member of the community, someone that was in the chats and occasionally came on streams, and he was going through a horrid time, and Kuva and I were speaking with him on a daily basis, sometimes taking it in shifts to deal with him or be on call for him to help him and assist him. We tried to get him the help. We got him into a hospital, but unfortunately wasn't taken seriously, or he didn't say what he needed to say to get the right treatment, whether that's fear or anxiety from him. But we continued to try this, and then unfortunately we got a message that unfortunately had taken his life. And it just goes to show how serious this is, especially with the next subject we're going to discuss. Unless, Ben, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, you absolutely perfect what you said.
Okay. So the next thing we're going to discuss here is something everyone gets accustomed to, and everyone, whether it just be Twitter or any kind of social media or anything, the trolls and their impact. Now, this has affected me in quite a few ways, and one of the ways, like I said, this show, I'm not mentioning any names. People may know the people we're talking about or not, but there's particular people on Twitter, I'm going to use for this example for myself, that are disgusting human beings. Disgusting. With me being a prominent figure in Leave You Out, I put myself out there, whether it be via social media, whether it be by YouTube, whether it be by appearing on certain stations that I've given interviews for. I put myself in that position where I can be an easy target. Now, a few weeks ago, people were trolling me just for always saying, "Oh, you're negative, are you this, are you that?" Whether it is, whether it isn't, that's your decision. You can just block or not respond or whatever. But what happened a few weeks ago is I put a picture out there, which I didn't see there was any anti-Semitic connotations for. But someone found or tried to find that there was. And I took this photo down immediately with an apology if I offended anyone. People will know I am a very, very proud Jewish man. I have Jewish tattoos all over my body. I have the most holiest line of our prayer going through my heart. I've done a lot for the Jewish community, both in this country, Israel, where I lived for 3.5 years and met my beautiful wife, and in Canada. But the anti-Semitism started. I'm a vile, racist troll, and other very, very hurtful things that have happened. Now, I personally, and people can go and check my Twitter or anything, I personally make sure, because of mental health, that I never once ridicule people individually. I never once call people out and insult them. I don't troll. I don't go looking through their timelines and start tweeting non-stop about them, or if they put a tweet out, I go and look at it and have to comment. And the reason I don't do that is because of mental health and because of the effect that it can have on people, because you never know what the person that you're tweeting is dealing with at that current time. It could be they lost their job. It could be a family member. It could be anything. But the impact this has had on myself, and this also goes, and I'm going to use Rez here. Rez, you're going to come into play a lot in this one. And Kim, who is also going to come into play in a lot in the next discussion. The personal abuse that has come our way, whether it be on this subject or the subject we're going to come on to, without taking in the mental or emotional aspect of someone, has just been horrific, especially with certain revelations that we're going to discuss after. Obviously, Rez, you've come under this as well, haven't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In a way, I mean, this is indicative of the society that we've built, and the way that we, as a species, have a tendency to jump on any new technological thing and push its boundaries as far as we can. And social media as a whole is one of the results of that. Human beings are designed fundamentally to interact with each other. We have to. It has been proven in study after study that the more isolated a human being is, the worse off they feel. And their actual, not just their mental health, but their physical health will suffer as well, because we need that social discourse. What social media does is that it replaces a very deep and inherent human need with something that strips that human interaction of everything that makes it worthwhile. Because when we talk to each other, it's not just the words that come out of our mouth. It is the expressions on our faces, the tones of our voices, the stance that we stand in, the volume that we speak at. All of those things combine to send a message to the person that we're talking to, and in turn receive it from the person we're talking to, or the people we're talking to. When you have a tool that strips the majority of it away, that is dehumanizing. So my view of social media is that it is inherently dehumanizing. And of all of the platforms, Twitter is by far and away the absolute bottom of them, the nadir of the entire set. They're all awful as far as I'm concerned, but Twitter is the worst. And it might surprise people to know that I am a free speech absolutist. I believe that everything and anything should be allowed to be said. However, that doesn't mean that because you can say something that you should say it. That is what a lot of these people either don't understand or don't want to understand. Because everything that we do carries consequences, be that for ourselves or be that for the person that we are doing it to. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone whose existence and pleasure is predicated on the idea of causing harm or being so lacking in self-awareness and empathy as to not care about any particular harm they might do is someone that should take a very, very long, hard look at themselves in the mirror.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't have said it better. But there are trolls in our community. We have to deal with it. I mean, I don't necessarily deal with trolls as in personal attacks in terms of my looks, what I am, but in terms of things like in a certain stream, a troll came to the chat and took the piss off the way I looked constantly. And many of you don't realise, for majority of my life now, this is I'm 28 years old, 18 years of my life, I've suffered with an illness called ulcerative colitis. But to deal with that illness, I need very high-powered immunosuppressant medication. And that takes a toll on a human being. But every single thing I look, my glasses, my hat, is all to cover up the scars of that illness. Like the lumps I've had on my skin for years that were just ugly. The fact I've got no hair anymore because the medication kills my hair cells. I put on glasses because I've got purple marks under my glasses. So the bigger the glasses, the more it covered up the scars. So people take these, your glasses look weird. You look wrong. Shave your beard off. You look terrible. You're like a homeless person. This, that, and the other for no particular reason. And of course, there's always someone that has no profile picture, that's got it's someone hiding behind a computer that obviously doesn't like the way they look. So the way they make themselves feel better is take the piss out of someone else's look. But I'm comfortable the way I like my beard. It's part of my look. My hat. Everyone knows me for wearing a hat. The lovely Kim, whenever she sees me without a hat, she tells me to put it back on immediately. Says, you wear a hat. That is it. That is it. Put it back on now. It is part of my identity now, as well as my religious customs. I always wear a hat to remember the people in my family that also wear hats, and the friends I've grown up in a very Orthodox Jewish school. And it reminds me we're part of the same community, and it helps. We also have a bit of a flat cap thing in our community with shows like the Irish Hotspur that I always say the flat cap army, and also so it's melding communities together, and that is how we improve society, by saying this community and this community are friends with each other, and then we can make the world a better place by sharing our what we like, what we don't like, the movies we watch, the music we all love. And that's part of what I love about the coffee company, with Rez coming on and Kim and other people. We talk about each other's cultures. We talk about Japan a lot. We talk about Korea. We talk about anime. We talk about everything. It brings us together, that we say, oh, we all like these things. Let's all be better people by sharing what we all love inherently.
Correct. Kuva, you got anything to say, brother?
Twitter, as far as I'm concerned, it's like a primary school where they introduce the rule: you can do whatever you want, and there's no accountability.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like to me. It's the people behave on. It's licensed to behave in ways that people wouldn't even have the guts to do in face to face to people.
Absolutely.
And why they choose to go for that particular line of attack, God knows. It's a bizarre idea, but it's a lot of cowardly people doing that. There are some people that also are in pain doing it. I understand that too. They're lashing out. Perhaps that's the only way they can do it. There are other ways. And I'd recommend it to anybody that needs that sort of attention or anything. Get yourself onto YouTube. Get on screen. Talk to people. You can talk in real time, and you kind of build up a level of trust with that as well, because you can see people's reactions. It's the closest you can get to an online pub meeting, really, with a few people, and it's very therapeutic. Twitter, on the other hand, it's the cesspit of online media, isn't it? It's
inherently evil.
Yeah, it's best to stay away from it, but it's also a very powerful tool for getting messages out to people quickly. Unfortunately, we're all sort of dragged into that a little bit, due to the football reasons. But I could easily do without it otherwise. The only reason I have it on there is really to retweet what our mate Brian Dagul puts out every now and then. That's my function there on Twitter, really. But it is interesting, though. You can have some really fun conversations with people there, but not everybody. Some people are there just to antagonise, and without that accountability, it's a bad thing. Rez is completely right. Social media is not what it could have been. It could have been something really special.
I mean, if you look at Facebook,
it's inadequacy. This is the thing. Anyone who either takes pleasure or is driven by some motivation to deliberately and knowingly say something that they know will cause harm to another person is essentially fundamentally inadequate. I mean, we're all fundamentally inadequate. There is not a person born on the planet that doesn't have an inadequacy or develop an inadequacy of sorts at some point in their lives. That is what humanity, that's what life is about. Life will deal us blows, and that will cause inadequacies within us. But if your particular inadequacy motivates you, or did you derive pleasure from causing harm to others, you are, I hate to make it quantitative, but you are more inadequate than someone who doesn't. If you feel the need to do that, you have a very deep and fundamental inadequacy that borders you on the inhumane.
Yeah.
That's my view of it. I have sympathy for someone who has that kind of problem, but that doesn't mean that I will excuse their behavior. This is where personal responsibility still stands. And it's very weird to hear a wishy-washy liberal like me talk about personal responsibility, but I believe in it.
Yeah.
And the key here is because we, as a society, as a community, the idea of sacrifice for something has been lost. We are all in it just for ourselves. the vast majority of us. And that is why. It's because we don't believe that we owe anyone anything. How many times do we hear that question? I don't owe you anything. He doesn't owe me anything. Actually, it's not strictly true. As humans, we do all owe each other something, a little something.
A bit of respect would go a long way. In my world, there is a troll in this community. I will not name him, but he knows who he is. He deliberately made. I was very open with the fact that I've not got a partner, and I would like to change that. And this person deliberately, who lives in a country with interesting rules about, he logged on to an app, and I would like to, as a Jewish person, marry eventually a Jewish woman. He deliberately made an account on a Jewish dating website to try and hurt me. He made a fake account with a fake name, and he tried to troll me from it. He deliberately used a device, VPN, to try and attack someone for no reason. And these people are about, unfortunately. They are about. And there's only so much and which is even worse, because I helped this guy out a lot. He was getting a lot of flack, and I helped him. And then he repays me with that. So, like Rez says, we do owe a bit of something in this community. A little bit of respect goes, and boundaries. And this same person is trolling another Spurs YouTuber, who I won't name, to protect her. But he's targeting her. Makes hundreds of fake accounts to try and attack her. And we all know who this person is. And they need to stop. They will see this video probably, and they need to stop it.
I'm just going. Sorry, Ben. I'm just going to mention with this as well. What I do want to do in this segment as well is thankfully, a year ago when I started the training ground protest with Ryan and Graham, I was getting a lot of abuse from wherever you were. It was a lot of abuse, but I had a few people, or a large people agreeing with me and sticking up for me, but a lot more gunning for me and calling me names under the sun. I didn't really care. But one thing I will say, with what's been going on recently, the overwhelming support that I've had on Twitter or on YouTube or because through Twitter and through YouTube, even people in the comments, we have amassed an incredible community. There are lots of wonderful people that I've met. These three people that I'm on the screen with would not have met if it wasn't for YouTube. Would not have met, as I call them, for the mothership, We Are Tottenham TV, or channels like the Irish Hotspur, or Tottenham Away, or other channels I could go through. Shelfside, bloody hell, I almost left Shelfside out. Kuva and the King, which is a new channel, but it's created so many great people, and a lot of these people that do the stuff are certain names that aren't theirs, certain avatars that aren't profile pictures of themselves or whatever.
Sure.
And they come and go, and they come and go. So the one thing I will say, we are talking about their impact, and the impact you've got to have is just realise, just before you start insulting people or targeting people, whether it be me, the Spurs community in general, in whatever it may be, the people you're targeting may be going through some mental health issues themselves, maybe going through some physical bad health themselves, maybe battling a disease that is going to be terminal. Maybe a family member is going through stuff. Maybe they've lost their job, or they're getting a divorce, or their child is not well. Just think how it could impact people, and take on board the story Kuva and I have spoken about someone that it got so bad they took their own life.
I will add one thing in here. Sure. And how fitting it is in this particular forum, I don't know. But personal responsibility also has another element to it. And it's the personal responsibility we owe to ourselves. The key, you see, weirdly, social media doesn't actually impact my life very much. It's mainly because I'm not all that active on it. Because once I identified what it was, for me, it was a case of I'm not really all that interested. The costs outweigh the benefits for me. But what Kim often says is you can't control events, but you can control your reaction to events.
Yep.
And it's a very important lesson to learn. And it's not one that is easy to learn. So I'm not going to say that anyone who doesn't learn it is failing at anything. There are thousands of millions, hundreds of millions of lessons out there for humans to learn. We never learn all of them. Otherwise, we'd be perfect.
Yeah.
But this is a very good lesson to learn, is how we react to those things. In a way, you can either view it confrontationally or non-confrontationally. You can say non-confrontationally, well, they've got their own problems. It doesn't really affect me. It's just words, and move on. Or you can do it the confrontational way. It's like saying, if I react the way that they want, they win.
Yeah.
But we saw it on Shelfside at our end of season party stream, I think it was. Someone came into the stream and was calling me names over what we're going to discuss after. And at first, Nick, to his credit, my very good friend Nick, basically blocked this person from commenting. They promptly went away, probably created a sock account, and was back in the comments within 8 minutes, I think it was, and essentially posted the same message. And this time in the private chat, I said to Nick, don't block this person. And he didn't. I said, bring up the comment when it's appropriate. And he brought up the comment. And I essentially said to this person, what do you expect me to do when you post something like that? Start crying? Because that's what they want. They want a negative reaction. Whether or not they know it or not, that is what they're seeking, a negative reaction. Anything that a person can do to show themselves as unaffected by it robs that person and robs their commentary of its power, of much of its power. Because the one thing that we burden ourselves with a lot is a sense of shame. Shame has been a very powerful tool in controlling human behavior throughout the centuries, because we are social creatures, and so we don't want to be viewed as different from the rest of the pack. And so shame can be used to isolate us. If you don't feel shame over things that you shouldn't feel shameful over, you rob these people of a lot of their power, because what they want you to do is curl up in embarrassment, to apologize for being the person you are. And the way to stop doing that is to believe in the person that you are. And that also has very strong mental health benefits.
Yep, you're right. Now, obviously, this has all been gearing up to it. We've had the appetizer, we've had the amuse-bouche. It's time to get into the thing that people have. I said I was going to make a video about this a few weeks ago, but because of the situation and everything we've been talking about right now, I've had to take some time out for myself. I have my parents extremely worried about me, my sister, my friends that I'm on screen with, and other people from this community and my friends outside this community. So we are going to address this issue, but we aren't going to address this issue the way Rez brought that video out, where documented everything that this person had done. I don't really like using his name. His name's only up there right now because people need to know who we're talking about. So we're going to talk about how this has affected people. Now, I'm going to speak here. Now, I'm going to go very much into detail with this, so I can try and, because I've seen tweets saying me, Iggy and Stel helped him and we're spending the money. I've seen other things that I knew all along. I've been a part of this. People that know me very, very well, and especially the three again on this screen, know that loyalty and trust are the two biggest things to me. You break that, you're dead to me. You are absolutely gone. And the old Brian that is a very, very, I'm very, very, I get very concerned. When I'm about to lose my temper, my parents get scared. This isn't to be proud of. I leave a trail of devastation in my wake. So this man became part of the community like we all did during COVID. I became a very, very big member of the community and a well-loved and respected member at the time. And we're talking 2020, 2021. I came back to England 2021 in September, the first time since COVID, and I could have been back sooner to see my family, to see my nephews. But the one Tottenham thing I will mention is I mentioned that I couldn't make it to the Super League protests. I will make it to the NFL ones. And if I came in the summer, I couldn't make it to the NFL ones. So, man of my word, came for the NFL, where I met Ben and Rez in person for the first time. I haven't had the pleasure with Kuva face to face, but we'll make it happen one day, very, very soon. And it's the first time I met this man face to face. And we clicked immediately. Immediately, there was a friendship, a bond, a brotherhood, if you want to call it. He even stayed in my house for a few nights. I spent time with him. And then obviously I came back home. Me and him were as thick as thieves. And then 3 weeks after coming home, his father died. And then 5 days later, me, Cody and Kim, after he had COVID, made the shout that we had to call an ambulance, got him there, and he deteriorated. And because of the COVID restrictions and things looking very, very bad, I weren't going to wait around to have a test, wait 2 days, then book a flight, then go. I flew home immediately to be there for him, but most importantly, there for Kim, who was going through, just had gotten with him, just started their relationship as it was, and was in need of support, but also for the mother of his children and his 3 kids, or 4 kids if you include his stepkid. I was meant to be here for 3 weeks. I ended up being here for 3 months, which my wife wasn't understanding. And at the very last occasion where I extended my ticket, I had Rez and Kim in the car. I was in Rez's car. And when I extended my stay for a further, I think it was 2.5 weeks, she broke down in tears and even said to me, "Why do you love the Spurs community more than me?" Which at the time was like a knife through my heart that she thought that, but I can kind of understand it. But that's what I do for brothers, for very close friends, because of my loyalty to people. Obviously, I left when he was coming out of the hospital. Then, obviously, this 24-hour stream came up, and it went on. And I think it was in June, just before I came home for Ben's wedding and my birthday last year. And obviously, no payments mentioned. I have to also, and I'm gonna, like I said, I ain't gonna pull any punches here. I'm gonna let everyone know. As you know, at the very beginning of this discussion, I was talking about why I'm back in the UK. Now, Bob Spur and I used to speak every single day on the phone, every single day before COVID. This is, and before I met him for the first time. But when I was going through all my agony and all my stress and all my situation, it was nigh impossible for him to return a message, to return a phone call, to check in on me, which hurt me at the time. Didn't think anything of it. I had my family, as in the people on screen and others around me. Didn't really pay much attention to it. But then obviously I came back in November because of the situations. NHS money still not given. Certain other things happened within the community, and it's not for me to speak on those things, but certain things happened. But then Bob and I started coming to blows. We started arguing, and sometimes it got very, very heated. And for certain reasons, it got extremely heated. And I even said to him, if I was near you and I could get you, because I don't drive, I would see you and we would have this out, and it's not going to end pretty for you, which again, I'm not proud of, not happy of. But then why I'm talking about this is one of the reasons when we were having an argument and it came to blows and I found out some lies that he'd been telling me. This is where things started to unravel, where I found out a lot of things he was saying to other people was bullshit. He hadn't warned me that he was saying these things to people. So when this person came and challenged me on it, I had no idea what this person was talking about, and kind of got him into a bit of trouble. And then he had a go at me for speaking to this person. And then this is the kind of guy that we're dealing with, who I thought was a brother, a member of the family. When asked, why are you doing this? Why have you been ignoring me? Why have you been blanking me? Why have you not been returning my calls? Why haven't you been there when I've needed you? When it was the other way around, I dropped everything for you. He turned around to me, and I have all the text messages and WhatsApp that said, Brian, the reason I've been ignoring you, the reason I've been not responding is every time I see you or hear your voice, it takes me back into all my pain of when I was in a coma. Now, if the roles had been reversed, I would have been, you're the guy that flew halfway across the world and extended his staying away from his family. Just the thought of your voice brings happiness to know that someone did this for me and someone that sacrificed everything for me, but didn't realize it was one of these ploys and manipulative ways that he does things. And then obviously the news came out and Rez has exposed the video and shown the things that he did. And of course, people have come for me, they've come for Stell, they've come for Rez, they've come for Kim, they've come for everyone. Now, what you've got to remember, people, is I've had to take a step back again because of my anger management and again because of my mental health. Now, the wider community and people that know us well, again, have been there, maybe not for everyone, but during this time, not one person or an amount of people have put any kind of message to someone that could get a message to Kim to check up on how she is. This is a woman. It's not my place. Kim moved heaven and earth for this man. Kim welcomed him into her family. Kim gave him a roof over his head. Kim did so much more than people will ever know, but have used this as an episode of EastEnders or a bad movie to dig claws in and personally attack and personally abuse and write shit, where Kim is a goddamn fucking saint. My nickname for her, I don't know how close she is, she knows I call her Mary fucking Poppins for what she did. She is an incredible woman, but yet the lack of empathy to think what she's gone through, the lack of concern about her well-being, the lack of concern that I've given up everything. This is, yes, what he's done with the money is horrific, is absolutely shambolic, it's criminal, it's disgusting, it's vile. But once again, people have taken to social media to attack. Again, there's been a big group of people that have asked if people okay, have heard this news and have been horrified. This man, who, as you can see, has disarmed his Twitter, or deactivated, sorry, his channel has disappeared. He has disappeared. Did I speak to him after Rez's video? And Rez knows it. Rez was there when I had a conversation with him, and I went absolutely fucking mental at him. He's not made contact again, whether he has handed himself into the police, whether he hasn't. But as you'll see, the people thinking that we had something to do with it, or people thinking that we're all aware of it, you'll see that we're still all together. You won't see his name. You won't hear his name. I won't have anything to do with him. I am disgusted by what he's done. Like I said, the fact that trust and loyalty is everything to me. A so-called person that has been in my parents' house, that my parents adored, that my parents he came round for dinner before I went back to England after Ben's wedding, and Kim was with us. And my mum doted on Bob and was concerned when we were out in the garden that he wasn't warm enough. It was a late June, early July summer's evening. This man has manipulated, this man has played and shattered people's trust, belief, hope. But thankfully, through a community that does have each other's back, we've needed to rebuild. This is a huge shocker, but again, I'm not talking about any of the stuff that he's done that is documented and very well documented, and I'm over the moon that it's out in the air, out in the open. But people, again, you need to think about what it's done to people emotionally and mentally, as well as I don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's just as important about what he's done to people financially. But everyone has again focused on that rather than realizing what it has done to a lot of people. But rather than use that method of thought, you've gone on the attack. And I've had to stay away from
Not
the
even
attack.
just the attack, Brian. It's not even just attack. It's also those that seem to want to insinuate themselves in a situation that has absolutely nothing to do with them as well. The one that I'll paraphrase a comment that I've seen. I'm not even going to say where I saw it, but a comment I saw was returning to all this drama. It's like, it's not your drama. Yeah.
Yep.
Just because something is happening doesn't mean that you're involved.
Yeah.
And this is someone who prides themselves on being a spouse, because apparently getting married suddenly confers responsibility. It's like, once the ring's on, you're a grown-up. It doesn't work that way. You can be very immature and be married, or you can be single and very mature. But the effect that, again, we can't control events, but we can control how we react to events. This has been, for me, as a second-hand person in all this, wanting to support one of the principal people involved has been difficult. But the manner in which I choose to react to it, and it caused stress, and it caused pressure, and it caused, a regression, let's say, to the progress that I'd made over the last year with my own personal journey. It was difficult. What people out there have to realize is the majority of people are good people. Fundamentally, they are. We are as humans. We just can't do it. It's very difficult for humans to cause direct harm. That's why social media is so evil, because it facilitates that. It's like a very famous experiment that was done years ago into the psychology of authority, in which you got a test subject sat behind a big screen. And in front of them, they had a whole load of switches, all marked with different voltages. And it was an experiment into thought control and submission to authority. And basically, the test subject, was told that they would ask a question, and if another person sat on the other side of the screen where they couldn't see them got the question wrong, they had to administer a mild electric shock, and they had to go along the switches. And every time they got one wrong, they had to go to a higher voltage. And it showed that these people, the majority of people, would question the administration of an electric shock until they were told by the actual authority figure in the room, who was the third person, that it was okay. Even to the point where they thought they were administering electric shocks. They weren't, they were fake, but they thought they were administering these electric shocks. Even though they were told that these electric shocks, the voltages that they were using, were lethal to humans. And the person on the other side of the screen, pretending to be shocked, would let out yelps, would go, ah, whenever an electric shock was administered. And then at higher voltages would go silent, to suggest that they were no longer conscious or even alive necessarily, but they would still give these electric shocks. This is what social media does. This is what happens, because although the majority of people are good, there are those amongst us who, through either the compulsions in their head or through an inherent desire to cause harm, will cause us harm. The key to it is what I said at the end of my video. is when that happens, those of us affected or those of us who aren't built that way should all come together. What angered me, but also injected a dollop of despair as to how weak we are as a species, were those that turned on those affected and then gave themselves the right to criticize a message of togetherness that I put out there. How small are you people? How mindless, how petty, how base are you? Okay? Even animals with no higher brain function find ways of cooperating with each other better than you have. Look at yourselves in the mirror. Okay? If you don't see the same expression of contempt and scorn that is on my face when you look in the mirror and think about what you have said, you are ill and you should seek help, because you are worse than Bob Spur, because Bob Spur did it for a reason. It's not a good reason. It's not an acceptable reason, but he was still motivated by an objective. What's yours? And think about those. Unlike myself, as I say, I got angered by it, but I moved over it. Yeah. But it's still there. Ask yourselves those questions. What did you gain with your disgusting comments? Yeah. That's the drama that you should be most concerned with. The drama in your own existence.
Yeah, I mean, before I go to Ben and Kuva, because I know they're going to want to speak about this as well, because everyone has been affected by it. I will say, I'm not going to mention the reasons for, but in January, when we were at the training ground for a protest, I saw Ben in one of the most disturbed states I've ever seen him in, and took him a while to get out of it. We were concerned for him, and it was due to something with Bobsper, not this issue with NHS. Before that video came out by Rez and I had a bust up, a pretty big one.
Yeah.
And guess who was at the centre of that? Something again from Bobsper. When Rez brought out this video, one of the first things he did, especially on that video where he mentioned myself, Kuva, and other people from this community, Ben, Danny, and all other channels, we listed, or Rez listed, the action fraud, or what is action fraud? Yes, Rez, action fraud. We wanted to try and get this out to help people get their money back and show people. Exactly. And there's other things. Like I said, we're not going into the specifics. This is the impact it's had on us and others. So again, when it's come down to this situation, why wasn't it brought out before? Because all the bits of the information, the T's had to be crossed, the I's had to be dotted. Why nothing was going to come out until we knew as a community, and the people that we knew and trusted were ready for what is about to come, because there would have been a backlash. Now it's taken me a longer than I thought, because I've taken this bad with the certain things that have been going on in my life. But just remember, like Rez was saying, a lot of the tension that has been around this coming out has been because we were all told different aspects of different things that kept this from coming out sooner, all because of the manipulation.
And people wouldn't want to have believed it either.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now I'm gonna come to, who wants to go first, Ben or Kuva? I'll give you the choice.
Go for it, Ben.
It's a very difficult, because as Brian said, I have great trust in my friends, and all the people on here have become some of the best friends I've ever known ever. And in particular, Kim, me and Kim share something that we're both autoimmune, and we know the challenges of being autoimmune. For me, it's a great shame to have been used to attack someone and he desperately used, or I don't even say he, because it shows that any sort of human being could do that. It's not emotion. The fact that I have been used to hurt someone of great friendship to me, it shames me. I've told both Rez and Kim this. It hurts. It still hurts that someone I think is of the best friend. I told Kim this. I never want Kim to never be in my life for as long as I live. She is as good a friend as I have ever had. Of course, I've got other friends on this community and people that have supported me since I'm back here. To be lied to, some of the messages that this thing sent me, that's saying that other people have been talking about you, how lonely it makes you feel. And again, back to my original illness, it's like one of the main symptoms of what I have is loneliness. So the fact that this thing used that loneliness in my in this time of need to attack me and to isolate me, to use me as a something to draw money from. That's what he saw me as. He saw me as someone to draw money from. And not just me, my family. My family is very important to me. I have a very close-knit family. Many of people know this. You've seen my brother walk past earlier in this video. We have a very tight-knit family. And so someone to try and use me to get to my family that shows what this thing. He never wanted friendship. He never wanted to be part of a community. He saw us as a number, and that is a dollar sign or a pound sign or a shekel sign or any sort of a euro, any sort of monetary value that's at the front of a number. That is what he sees us as, something to draw money from. And whilst he's drawing money, use them to destroy their mental health, and then use things like needing white noise because he can't sleep. I hope this thing never can sleep a proper night's sleep for the rest of its life. When it gets down to it, to use people's mental health. Kuva and I speak about this multiple times because Kuva and I speak to each other a lot because we're part of a show that we've been part of for ages since I joined this community. We are very trusting people, Kuva and I, and he used that, and it questions yourself for the rest of your life. Do we trust people? You never really know someone, but luckily I know these three people very, very closely, and I trust them. I trust them with everything.
And that's the key. That's the key. Before you say anything, Kuva, sorry to speak. That is the message. Humans are generally good.
Yeah.
Okay? People are generally good. Yeah? And we should still believe that trust is something to instill in others. The key, I think, is not saying because someone can hurt me, I'm not going to trust them. You should say, I won't trust someone because they have hurt me. That means that you have to instill trust first. If you go through life with a lack of trust, it is a very bleak and lonely existence.
Yep. Kuva.
Yeah, there's so many layers to what's happened, really, isn't there? There's the old NHS side, which has affected hundreds, thousands, even in the online community. Not just Spurs fans, not just people that knew Bob, but
Kuva, let me just add to that as well. Sorry, just very quick. Not just that. His dad's funeral money. His dad's funeral money, who I helped write that GoFundMe for, who I helped sort out, wrote the whole thing for him and just put insert emotional story here. Even that. So I just wanted to add that it wasn't just even the NHS. He's done it twice, hasn't he?
Yeah, at least, yeah. Well, certainly the big ones that I know of, yeah. So there is that side of it that's affected everybody, and the worry was this is going to affect all other charity streams from this point onwards. But the funny thing is, when the dust settled, we found out that this community actually pulled together. Bridges have been fixed. People that hadn't been speaking before realised how petty it was, the arguments that people were having. there's a bit of focus around what's really important here. So it has actually galvanized the community. We're a bit more savvy now. We're a bit more clued up as to what to look for on charity streams. And the ones doing those are very open about where this money's going. And you can see the links and everything. It's all above board. People have wisened up to it. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing, despite the horrendous, theft of that money. And let's face it, it's stealing from a hospital at the end of the day, because we're given that money for that purpose. It was theirs already by that point, as far as we're concerned. Anyway, enough of that side of it. There's the second part of it, which is I, like many of us, loved seeing Bob Spur on stream. I loved watching In the Wall. Loved being part of it. Loved talking with him, having a laugh. Christ, we had hysterical laughs. It was great. It was part of the feeling good aspect of coming online for me. It's like going into a room now and your living room and finding the sofa's gone. It's like I used to sit there. It's gone. It's just this is a big thing. So the comfort zone has suddenly gone, and there's a kind of a sense of something's lacking there. You've got to find something else to fill the hole that was there. Because love him or hate him, he was a big, larger-than-life, charismatic figure. Really got on well with a lot of us. So that part's gone, and that was difficult to deal with. But then there's the other part. There's the personal part. And for me in particular, I connected with Bob on a lot of personal issues that affected us. Memory loss, I've suffered from a while now, due to head injury from years back. But it does affect me at times worse than others. Than at certain times. I don't even know what I'm talking about now. It's almost evident now. But other things, losing the father, losing the mother in quick succession, struggling to know how to cope with it afterwards, trying to find a way to deal with it all, raising the family, of course, and concerns about the kids, connected with so many things. And all of that made me very close to Bob. And then to find out that he's committed this act of, and let's not sugarcoat it, it's an act of betrayal. It's a callous backstab to everybody around him. It's some worse than others. Obviously, Kim, Brian, Rez, Ben taken worse hits than many people over this all. I think Kim has got to be the epicenter of all of it, really, though. Born the real brunt of it. For all of that to go on and find out that this is a man that you've connected with and feel close to, consider one of your friends, and he's like that. It questioned my ability to gauge other people. Who do I trust now? And I felt like that for weeks. I actually felt like quitting the entire YouTube community. Just step away from it. Done with social media. I don't need any of this in my life. Then I think it might have been you, Rez, that just said, don't do that. Just you made good friends here. Just come and do what you do. Have a laugh with people. It's important. It's important to everybody, for each of us. And I'm glad I did stick around, because we have had a laugh since then, and there have been ways forward. And it hasn't been the disastrous sort of cataclysmic event that's going to haunt me the rest of my life now. Already, his name is starting to fade. That's how little he ultimately meant after all this. I look at the other people of leaving actually long-term, lingering sense of fun, happiness, loyalty, a bit of calm and chill there from Ben's coffee shop, which you've all come to know and love over the last year or so. Is it, Ben, or something like that?
About that.
Yeah. Brian, we know what we always get with Brian: heart on his sleeve, honesty, in your face with it. But we've gone on a bit of a journey just watching you, mate. Just watching you struggling to control the outbursts and becoming really thoughtful and cutting with what you say with your words, but doing it in a nice way. Never make somebody into a victim, unless it's somebody who sets himself up for it, such as people in certain positions of power that we won't go into. It's not football stream.
No.
Rez as well. Rez as well. So all these thoughts and articulates them better than anybody. So we've got these characters in the community, all worthwhile. And this particular scoundrel, and that's what he is, as not going to spoil that for me.
And Kuva, do you know what the key? Just to interject, you said that him departing was a loss. So imagine you departing, what that would have done. That would have been another loss. That would have compounded a loss. The difference is we would have lost someone of real value and real worth had you departed. So I'm glad you didn't.
Thank you.
Streams are not streams without Kuva 99 somewhere.
No, that's the thing. I mean, to discuss this, I mean, and wrap this up. Like I said, this is what, again, like, and with Kuva saying he wanted to leave, I've had to take it. We've all stuck up for each other. We've all been there to support each other within the tight walls of this community, within people in the chat that know us. And know us personally as well. The amount of people that come to protest, the amount of people that I engage with now via WhatsApp or direct messages because of interactions via wouldn't change it for the world. Wouldn't change it for the world. People will know that we are genuine people. Mm-hmm. We may have different views on the club and other aspects in life, but come on, we are all human. Yeah. We all have issues.
That's right.
And people need to realise before they're using these vile words or thinking they're big and clever to attack people and assume the worst.
Yeah.
Take a long listen. I've said things on Twitter I regret. I've done things on Twitter way before Tottenham that I regret.
Sure.
But we all learn and grow from this. We all make mistakes and grow, and that's all I want to talk about when it comes to this guy. I want his name off the screen. So we're going to wrap it up now. I just wanted to say thank you to the three of you for being part of this. This is obviously a subject that people know me, that I'm very, very passionate and open about. And I find it easy to do it when I'm surrounded by family. And in you three, I am definitely, and I know Kimber's in the background, so I'm going to add Kimber into this. And all the people that will watch this. And what we will say, and indeed what I did want to say is, of course, at the bottom, mental health matters now. Like I said, this is something this channel takes very, very seriously. This will be our fourth or fifth stream we've done on this. Now, if anyone ever wants to talk about this in more detail, not about the situations and the gossip, but have taken something from this and thought, do you know what, I want to talk to someone, please reach out to us directly via our email, which will be in the description that I've written when this goes live or premieres very shortly. We have resources through mental health specialists that have come on the streams with us that can help. If you want more information or more about my journey and my battle with addiction, I can certainly tell you my story and offer some kind of help. I can't be a counsellor because I'm not qualified. But please don't let mental health get the best of you. This is something that is very, very serious and can be life or death, but it is spoken about more frequently now. It's something this channel will do. It's something that these people that I stand with or sit with or stream with right now will do. So, guys, first of all, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure.
As always.
I was about to say something, as you said, as always, but that's not the stream for it.
Sorry.
So listen, I will end with the mental health quote that I have tattooed on me proudly, which is, it's okay to not be okay. Enjoy, people. Bye bye.